that you need to know. If you don't The Black Dahlia Murder for your weekly essential. Be sure to send us your comments, your questions, and or your suggestions to us at ryansrockshow.com. Now, I had a chance to catch up with Charles, the guitarist from Cradle of Filth. This is what Charles had to say.
There's not really a lot of bands coming out of London, particularly. I don't know why that is, really. I guess it's just because it's such a big place. Bands kind of get lost in the London scene. They get this thing of just playing the venues in London and never break out. So it's very rare that a band actually comes from London.
So how did Cradle of Filth break out?
Well, because they started off playing locally, which was not in London, and just gradually spreading out, and then the merchandising really helped the band to take off because there was a few controversial T-shirts.
Like Jesus is a cunt?
Primarily, which really helped the band to be noticed. And I mean, there's no point being noticed if you can't back it up with good songwriting and so on and so forth, obviously. But that certainly helped.
So you're saying like the T-shirt got a lot of awareness?
I think so. Yeah, I think it made a massive difference because there were court cases and all kinds of things, and suddenly this extreme band were noticed by people that weren't necessarily into extreme music because they'd heard of them through the press or through whatever.
But were you younger when that?
When that happened, I was maybe 14, 15, something like that. So I remember it.
Really? What happened? Like
there was a few people that got arrested for wearing it.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And that was kind of, there was people taken to court and stuff, so that was where the thing really kicked off. Which certainly didn't hurt the band, obviously, because it's free publicity, but it was there was a lot of serious trouble over it at one time.
Who came up with the idea?
I'm not sure. I think it was all kind of like a joke. They were all just sort of sitting around, and it just came out as like, we should put this on a T-shirt. And they did it.
They didn't expect it to be like.
Well, I think when you do something like that, it's going to cause a few raised eyebrows.
Did they think it was going to be as extreme as it was? Because that's.
I don't think they could have ever guessed that it was going to have the effect that it did. So. It worked out pretty well for them.
And you said you were like 14?
I think I was about 14, 15.
Did you wear one of the shirts to school?
I may have done. I honestly can't remember. I think I possibly did.
What did your mom say?
The way she looked at it is basically, it's your life, but just, I don't want to see it.
That's really awesome, man. So Jesus is a cunt, and because of that shirt.
Well, obviously not because of it, but it certainly really did help at the time. It really gave the band a lift for the name to be known. But as I said, you've got to, once you get that lift, you've got to back it up with something, otherwise people soon forget about you.
You guys have a lot of hardcore fans?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, very much so.
What do some of the fans say when they meet you guys?
Usually, they're very normal and cool. Usually, but there are the odd mentals.
Really, like what? What's the
just really weird stuff like will you punch me in the face, or will you spit on me, or things like that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, really bizarre requests. But it's this whole celebrity culture thing. It's like someone's in a band or in a magazine or something. You just want any possible interaction with them that you can get, kind of thing, which I find a bit creepy personally.
That is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So did you punch them in the face or spit on them?
No.
What do you say when somebody's like...
Well, just say... I try to explain to them that it's not really... It's not really something they want to happen. It's not cool, and it's just... I don't know. Some people have just very strange attitudes towards the whole concept of bands and people in bands.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah, it happens to me. When they see me, they're like, whoa. No, but that's crazy. Someone really asked you to punch him in the face.
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't me actually. It was I can't remember who it was that got asked that. But it's just an example of the kind of really weird things people say, But as I say, usually that's a rarity. Normally they're just cool people, and sometimes they're a little bit kind of shy or nervous about me.
Oh, really?
But it's usually friendly enough.
What about like girls? You guys get groupies?
No, not really. I mean, you've seen the state of the band. We're not exactly, you know. But no. It's obviously you do. There's always girls hovering around, but most of the guys in the band have got wives or girlfriends, so they get sort of shunted away.
Do you get like weird requests from girls?
Not so much. Myspace has definitely opened the floodgate for weirdos.
Oh, really?
You know, but that's cool. I like that. You know, weirdos are enjoyable at a safe distance. It's just when they're in your face that it can become difficult. You know.
So they send you like weird messages?
Yeah, very. I got a very strange one from a girl. It was really, really highly sexual, and I went to the profile. I was like, oh Jesus, you're 14. Is that am I going to prison now?
What did she say?
I can't remember word for word, but it was very, very dirty.
She's like, I'm going to get naked.
I mean, it was filthy, but I tried to forget it as quickly as possible because I figured I just didn't want information in my brain in case the FBI or whatever. That's really inspiring, and it's not an ego thing. It's just nice. It's cool that you know people are actually paying attention specifically to what you're doing. That's a really nice feeling. You know, obviously, it's great to be in a band and to be working as a unit, but it's nice occasionally to get a little bit of individual recognition as well. Just to remind you that you're important to the process is cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
So it definitely reassures you.
Yeah, and it just gives you, it makes you feel good about the next day's gig or whatever. You know, it's always good to hear stuff like that.
Well, like when you were a kid, you were growing up. Is this something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, to be honest, for me, this is going to sound extremely contrived, but I've always, it's really always been about like music to me. I'm very into music.
Yeah.
I've got a degree in music. I'm just about to start a composition course as well where at home, and so I'm very into music, and it's always been about that. So the whole touring thing, stuff like that, is not essential to me. Although I do enjoy it, and I'm glad I'm doing it. But it was just wanting to do something to do with music. I'm just getting into doing a little bit of work with TV and film and stuff like that. So that's much, that's exciting as well.
What kind of TV and film stuff are you doing?
It's a company called Salvation Films, who are like a kind of horror erotica thing, which is really cool. Yeah, it's very interesting stuff.
Is that over there or here?
Over there in England.
Oh, right.
But it distributes worldwide. Yeah. But so that's cool. I've done a few bits for them, and it's looking like there's going to be a bit more as well. So that's a good start.
You ever think about coming to Hollywood and making it big?
Oh man, I'd love to do like film scores.
Would you really?
Yeah, I'd love to do it. I would love to do it. That's probably where I'm going to aim, in 10 years. But you've got to do this stuff while you can,
Yeah,
obviously, when I'm 50, I don't want to be living on the road.
Like Rob Zombie, dude, doing all these like.
Exactly. I think it's the music paves the way for you to really step out and do, because once you've got known for something, much easier to get people to take you seriously with other things. It's a foot in the door, really.
You guys have a big following too.
Yeah, I mean it is big, and it's worldwide as well, which is great because it opens doors, for places, and it's cool also. I do a lot of travelling. My fiance does a lot of work in overseas and stuff, just like modelling and performing and stuff. So we go places, we can usually hook up with people and hang out or have somewhere to stay and stuff like that. And because you just meet so many people. And again, Myspace is a great thing for that, because when you meet someone, you can actually keep in contact with them rather than you just meet them and then the next day you've forgotten about them and they've forgotten about you.
Yeah, so it's holy now. So you can go around, you can like stay at random people's places that you know.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it definitely makes life a lot easier for travelling. I know plenty of people in the US and I know plenty of people in Europe, so that makes for kind of cool. I mean, just to meet up with people as well is cool. It's good to have friends everywhere.
Like, what are some cities or places that you've been that you really loved?
New Orleans.
Really?
Yeah, I love New Orleans. Absolutely love it because
it's
just got a strange vibe to it. There's just something there's an atmosphere there which is very, very unusual, which I really like, and that's probably one of my favourite places in America. Then round the world, I mean, I love Oslo. I love all of Germany. And then, there's a few other cities that are great, but I don't know, I've been to so many others.
So when you joined the band, you said it's been a few years now.
Yeah, it's about 3 years.
You got a big following now.
Yeah.
3 years ago, what was it like when you first joined?
It was about the same as it is now, actually. Which is, obviously very much in at the deep end. I'd been in bands and stuff before, but not on the same scale, and so it was very much in at the deep end, but I guess it's cool because I got to cut out all the, the band touring and that stuff, goes straight to the good stuff, the good touring with a bus and showers and,
So you went from a band to like a huge bus and
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky in that respect. But I mean, I'm a hard worker, and I've done some pretty nasty jobs in my time, so I know the difference between what I'm doing now and what I was doing then.
Was it intimidating though when joining this band?
Yeah. I mean, it took a lot of guts to do. Actually, it was a very scary few weeks of that transition period. It was very, very scary 2 weeks.
Like, what was going through your head during those 3 weeks?
I was just thinking, I'm not sure if I can do this. I was totally freaking out, just thinking, I'm really not sure if I can do this.
What was the hardest part?
Just the whole thing. It's just the lifestyle change is enormous. It's an absolutely enormous change in your life to go from struggling to get into something to suddenly being there and having to do the job, and just like that. And if you don't do it, that's it. You're out, and you've got to do it. Very scary.
So you felt a lot of pressure from
there was a huge amount of pressure, but I think that actually pushed me. Yeah, not so much. I mean, the band actually were very cool about things, and obviously when you're starting something, any new job, you're going to slip up sometimes, right? Yeah. And they were very good about that. Any slip ups, they're very good at kind of sitting you down and explaining stuff. But now, I kind of, it's a whole different thing, obviously, because now I've been doing it for so long. I feel like, if somebody new came in now, I'd feel like I would be one of the people that would be sitting down with them and saying, right, this is how things are going to work and stuff like that. So it's 3 years ago, though. I mean, it's gone pretty quickly.
So you feel pretty close to the guys now?
Yeah. For the most part, there's usually a really good vibe between everyone. I mean, obviously, it's like anything. It's like a family. You're gonna look out for each other. But you're gonna hate each other sometimes as well. It's just one of those things. But at the moment, morale is pretty high. So the tour's been good so far, and there haven't been any major screw ups. So. It's
how far is the tour into? Right
about halfway.
Halfway.
Yeah, in fact, we crossed the halfway point yesterday. So we did, because we did a few gigs at the start of the Viva La Bands thing. So we're just over halfway now.
So did Bam Margera just call you up, or like?
I'm not really sure how that came together, to be honest. I mean, once he said he was going to be putting this thing together, we kind of figured we were going to be on it, because we know that he's very much into the band.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool to be doing it. I just saw him actually. I bumped into him somewhere. He's around somewhere. He just occasionally just turns up at shows. He doesn't go to all of them.
Oh, really?
But he does show up sometimes.
That's cool.
Obviously he wants to see how it's all going, because it's got his name on it. So
I didn't realize how big the tour was, man.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, it's a very exciting thing to be involved with. Actually, it's a very, very cool thing to be involved with. And again, it's an indicator of kind of how the industry is changing, because you've got this guy, TV guy essentially. Now obviously he's doing his skating and stuff as well, and now it's syncing up with the music, and it's all kind of crossing over. And I think that's the future of all the industries, is they're all going to inevitably just become like one giant entertainment industry. Right. I think that's inevitable, largely down to the internet. It's kind of compacting everything into one giant entertainment thing. The divisions between TV, music, and so on are getting smaller, I think.
Well, I think it's once you get in on something, once you have your foot in the door with the job, you pretty much start to meet everybody.
Absolutely, especially nowadays, because all the industries are just so closely, crossing over into each other. It's very much, this whole thing of there's so many popular films that come out, the kind of blockbusters that have bands on. They have a band doing, like Nickelback doing the Spider-Man thing, and I think it's an inevitable future of the whole industry, because it's going to become, like I say, one big entertainment thing.
Like soundtracks practically make or break a movie now.
Yeah, and also often they'll release a soundtrack that's nothing to do with the film, but it was like music inspired by the film, and it's just like the metal bands, and orchestral, proper scores are becoming a big deal as well. John Williams obviously is one of the most important composers probably of the last 2 centuries, and he's a film composer primarily. So it's very interesting how things are going.
So you're into all kinds of different music then? Because you said you went to college.
Yeah, I did music. Got my degree in music. That was a 3-year degree. I now teach at university as well.
Oh, do you?
Music, yeah. And but yeah, so I mean, I love metal. Obviously, that's what I'm doing. But I'm also very into classical music. That's my other major passion.
So do you teach classical?
No, I teach metal. Primarily. I was taken in as like a metal specialist. Which is kind of cool.
So how does it work when you're touring and you have to go back here?
Well, it's weird really. It's kind of like, I mean, a lot of the guys that I was teaching, because I started teaching them when I was like 24, which was obviously very young. So the people I was teaching were about my age, which was kind of weird, you know. And so a lot of them are like, you know, drinking friends and stuff. So it was a bit weird sometimes because I'd go in to teach and there'd be like people that I'd been in the pub with the night before, and they knew full well why I was, you know, why I was in a bad mood because I was hungover, you know. So it is kind of weird. But no, it's cool. I mean, I managed to balance the two things, but it's not always easy. Obviously, if I'm away for a long time.
Yeah. So you have like all your family's back in England, right?
Yeah, she is. She's coming out at the end of the tour. She's got some work over here. I think not paid, but just she's coming over to do a few bits. So that's kind of cool.
Well, like now being in the band, that's pretty well recognized. What people have you met that have inspired you?
Guys from Opeth.
Really?
Because they're just so nice, and also the Lacuna Coil guys. They're just really cool people. To be honest, it's very rare that you meet people that aren't cool. I mean, like the Gwar guys. You've met them. Yeah, they're great. They're really cool people.
They're really cool.
And we've been lucky to tour with some really great people like Hansel and Gretel, the Death Stars. You know, the Haunted. They're just all kind of just cool people that you can just have a few beers with and stuff. And that's really, really important. And with a band like Opeth, who are so good at what they do, and they're like absolute top-level musicians, they could be really egotistical and and not have time for anyone, but they're not. They're just really friendly, really nice guys. I mean, I could sit here for half an hour and list off people that I've met that I think are cool that have inspired me. So just leave it at that.
Yeah. Like, do you think that touring and having this amount of recognition has boosted your ego? Because you seem pretty down to earth.
No, I don't think it's boosted my ego, but it's boosted my confidence, and I mean, I don't want an ego, because I think it's. But the problem is when your confidence goes up, inevitably people perceive that as an ego. It's one of those things, and you lose friends, unfortunately.
Have you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, you lose friends because people. Especially people that want to be doing what you're doing. And I'm not saying they're jealous, but there is a certain level of bitterness that comes into things,
No, I've come across that too. I mean,
it's a shame, but it's just life. I mean, I'm not going to cry over it. It doesn't bother me. I've got enough friends, It doesn't bother me at all. I meet the same people on the way up, as you do on the way down, kind of thing. So you've got to. That's the biggest reason for not having an ego is that maxim, which is so true. Yeah. Because you don't want to be that kind of person that pisses people off, because you can guarantee it will come round and get you at some point.
Well, has your perception changed of like when you first started Cradle of Filth? Has your perception changed of the music industry?
Yeah, totally.
Good or bad? What are your thoughts on that?
I just understand it now.
Really? What do you mean?
Well, I get how it works, and I get why weird decisions or apparently strange decisions get made sometimes and stuff like that. I mean, my perception of the music industry is basically it's run at the top level by people that don't have the vaguest idea what it's about, and that's where the problems come from. Okay. If you compare a guy that works in an office and his priority is making money for a record label, down to a guy who's learned to play an instrument and is passionate about music, that's about as far away as two human beings can get in ethic, and that's where the problems come in. I know there are a lot of them as well.
And I say this right, because I meet a lot of bands that say that, the music industry, majority of it sucks, majority of the people suck. What are your intakes on that?
Well, I don't think that you can say a majority of the people suck, but certainly there are enough people in it that suck that cause enough problems for everybody to be coping with. I think you meet a lot of very cool people in the music industry because they're interesting characters, which is why they've been attracted to that industry. It's one of those things. It's like what I was saying about the fans. This kind of music doesn't attract really, really normal people. And it's the same. The music industry doesn't attract normal people because it's a really extreme, bizarre industry. But I don't think you can say that a majority of the people suck. But I guess the problem is when you're interviewing bands on the road, everybody who's on the road hates the music industry, because it's just, it gets on top of you. The industry gets on top of you. Well, being in a band gets on top of you when you're on the road, because it's a hard life. You don't get enough sleep. You eat crap, you drink too much, and that sounds like fun, but it's not. It's really not. You drink so you can sleep, and then you feel shit the next day, and it's just.
Is that really how it is? You drink?
It can be. I mean, it depends. We're quite good on our bus because we're quite generally we have this kind of thing where we want to get to sleep at a decent time. We're not going to sit up boozing every night. The days off get messy. We just got out 2 days in Vegas, and that was pretty rough.
Was it?
Yeah.
Did you guys gamble there?
I didn't. One of our guys, our sound guy, lost $1,600. I managed to get away with spending about $11 in total the whole time I was there, which I thought was rather good. But no, I mean, it was a messy weekend. But we don't do it very often, maybe once or twice on the tour, because the thing is, when you're playing music like this, you've got to be on form, because it's hard, it's physically demanding music, you know. It's very tiring to play. You can't be drinking all the time, really.
Like, what do you tell kids that when they come up to you and they're like, hey dude, I want to be just like you, I want to have a band, I want to be touring.
My advice is, yeah, great, keep it as a dream and aim at it, but make sure you've got a backup plan as well. You know, because generally you're going to need to do a few years' work before you make it, you know, if not more. And you need to have skills that are away from music, or at least skills in music you can use to earn as soon as you're out of school or college or whatever. You know, that is the most important thing. Just make sure it's not your only focus. Make sure that make it your primary focus and put all your energies into it, but just make sure you've got another backup plan, or at least an income, you know, and then go for it. I'm definitely not one of those people who says, oh no, don't do it, it's a horrible industry.
Yeah.
You know, do it. I'm doing it, and by and large, I'm glad I'm doing it, you know. But people, I think, you know, like kids 16, 17 go into it thinking all it takes is basically you're going to get into a band, and if you're good enough, you're going to make loads of money. Well, it doesn't work like that. I mean, I don't make loads of money. You know, maybe I'm not good enough. I don't know. But you know what I mean. You know, you don't make a lot of money out of music.
Thanks to Charles for coming on the show. We leave you this week shining some limelight on a band. They're from Tennessee. They're called the Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza. We'll see you next week on Ryan's Rock Show. Peace.